It's Monday, February 10. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. 27 visitors have so far been refused entry to Jamaica's ports as a government steps up its travel ban on certain individuals arriving from China. The Ministry of Health imposed the travel ban last month to protect the country against the spread of the coronavirus. Meanwhile, 19 people are now in quarantine following their arrival from China since January 23. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Mackenzie gave a recent breakdown of the arrivals since January 23. She said that 116 people had arrived in Jamaica who had been in China 14 days prior to arrival here. Of that number, one person had mild symptoms and was isolated. Her symptoms have since improved. She revealed that of the 115, permission had not been granted for 27 to enter Jamaica. 69 have been assessed and as low risk and have been discharged to their homes for follow-up by the parish health departments. And 19 persons up to 10 p.m. on February 8th were in quarantine. The government of Jamaica, GOJ, says its decision to not repatriate Jamaicans from Wuhan was made after strong recommendations from technical experts in the management of public health matters. On Friday, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, made the announcement. In a statement, she said, quote, "Through our continued dialogue with relevant MDAs, they assessed the risks involved. In that context, they recommended that this avenue not be pursued at this time." Minister Johnson-Smith indicated that the government of Jamaica is encouraged by and continue to give thanks for reports that to date, all our citizens in China remain in good health. She also assured the public. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang has assured or announced that the start of construction for the much-anticipated Port Maria Police Station in St. Mary will be happening soon. The new building is valued at approximately $250 million and will also house the headquarters for Area 2, which encompasses the parishes of St. Mary, St. Anne and Portland.
And the Port Antonio Station now 87% complete. The Buff Bay Station is 60% complete. Olympic Garden is 46% complete. And we will launch this beginning of construction on the Port Maria Divisional Headquarters, St. Mary Divisional Headquarters, very soon, in fact in this month.
The police facility is being funded by the National Housing Trust, NHT, in keeping with a mandate to build and repair police stations within 10 miles of NHT housing schemes. The Port Maria Police Station is in proximity to the Frontier and Trial housing developments. Minister Chang says the government of Jamaica is committed to enhancing infrastructure for the enablement of the security forces and the overall national security architecture.
We're not only refurbishing station, we are redesigning the station to be more customer friendly and functional. Even small stations. We visited Boardwalk recently and you go there, it has a reception area, not a guard room. It's a lobby for those who come in, workstation, and behind the workstation, private areas where you can have, individuals can have private interview. This is critical, especially with a high level of domestic violence in our country, where when there is such a report coming in, oftentimes the female who is being abused is followed by the male who stands behind them, cussing them, abusing them at the very police station. We have to change that policy. But also for people who may wish to give confidential information, they have to stand in a guard room where everybody, a small, narrow, frightening guard room. That we are changing, and it requires investment of significant sums in our police stations to get done.
According to Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson, the construction of a new facility will symbolize and foster a strengthened relationship between citizens and the police. The Port Maria Police Station is one of 60 stations targeted for the improvement and or construction for the fiscal year 2019-2020 under the Project Rebuild, Overhaul and Construct, PROC. The police facility is expected to be completed by December 2022. The government says it will be beefing up security at Cornwall College in St. James following the recent assault of the school's Dean of Discipline by the parent of a child who was being bullied. Minister of State in the Education Ministry, Orlando Terrelong, recently visited the school.
One of the things that we'll be doing at the ministry level is doing an estimate to see what sort of, in terms of surveillance system can be installed here at Cornwall College. We recognize that our teachers, that they are an important part in nation building. There can be no growth, development and prosperity without our teachers.
Since the incident, the ministry has met with the school board as well as the Parent Teachers Association to consider additional security measures.
So it was important for us as a ministry to stand with our teachers, to stand with our principals and say this sort of behavior, this sort of violence that happened here, it must never happen. It must never, ever be repeated.
A teacher at the Dumfries Primary School was also attacked recently. Prime Minister Andrew Holness recently delivered a lecture to students at the University of Missouri on the state of constitutional democracy in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Speaking at a packed auditorium, Mr. Holness said that democracy is the best system for long-term sustainable development of a country and its people. The Prime Minister used the occasion to stomp on one of his signature messages, which is the effect of climate change.
What is it that young people have to do? So steps into the argument now, Greta Thunberg. Anybody knows her? So she's a very influential, very strong advocate for governments of the world to pay attention to climate change. But climate change is such a highly political issue because if you drill down into it, exactly what does it mean? It really calls for a global sense of equity.
Mr. Holness spoke of the challenges being posed to small island states by climate change and how they can build resilience.
Last year, we had a hurricane that hit the Bahamas. One of these islands here, totally wiped out, flattened it. And the truth is that it will take many of these islands years to recover. So for Dominica, they lost almost 150% of their GDP. So they were totally wiped out and some more. Barbuda, an entire island, totally wiped out. So the challenge for small islands like Jamaica and other countries is, whilst we can't get into the political arguments over the science of climate change, and we don't have that luxury, we have to be thinking about resilience building. How do we strengthen our economy, our public administration, our security, national security, our education system, our banking and financial system, so that when these disasters happen, which they will.
Chief Executive Officer of the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, Shane Dalling, is worried that the FLA's Mandeville Regional Office is a security risk. Mr. Dalling says a fire in November last year, which damaged the more than 200-year-old courthouse at the center of Mandeville, led to relocation of the court's office and court sessions to a section of St. James Warehouse Plaza, directly upstairs the FLA's Mandeville Regional Office. The move, he says, has rendered licensed firearm holders who conduct business at the FLA at a security risk. Dalling told local business leaders at the monthly meeting of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce that he has been in talks with government officials about the issue. The public is being advised that to facilitate the opening of Parliament on Tuesday, February 11, several roads in the corporate area will be closed to pedestrian and vehicular traffic beginning at 8 a.m. These include Duke Street. No vehicular traffic will be allowed on Duke Street between Sutton Street and North Street, Charles Street, No vehicular traffic will be allowed on Charles Street between Hanover Street and King Street. Beeston Street. No vehicular traffic will be allowed on Beeston Street between King Street and Hanover Street. Mark Lane. Mark Lane will be operated as a one-way south to north between Beeston Street and Charles Street. Vehicles with George William Gordon House stickers will be allowed access to these areas. JUTC buses, which normally travel along Duke Street from East Queen Street to Hero Circle, will be diverted. Traffic personnel will be deployed along the roadways, and members of the public are being advised to follow their instructions. The US dollar on Friday, February 7, ended trading at Jamaican $142.33, up by 30 cents, according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $105.84, up from $104.26, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $184.73, up from $182.48. In regional news, on Friday, the U.S. cruise ship company Royal Caribbean announced that it would be banning all persons with Chinese passports from all of its cruise ships, regardless of when they were last in the country at the center of the coronavirus outbreak. The measure, which also covers persons from Hong Kong and Macau passports, comes amid growing concerns over the fast-spreading virus, which has killed more than 700 people and affected individuals in at least 25 countries. Friday's announcement by the Miami-based company came after 4 travelers who were aboard the company's Anthem of the Seas cruise ship were hospitalized in New Jersey after experiencing feverish symptoms. According to Royal Caribbean, the passengers had come from China for the cruise from the port of Bayonne, New Jersey, to the Bahamas and were hospitalized out of caution. Guyana's President David Granger is appealing for international aid to assist with the estimated 13,000 Venezuelan refugees in that country. News source Guyana's Gordon Mosley has the details.
Well, there is now an estimated 13,000 Venezuelan migrants living in Guyana as they continue to flee hardships in their homeland. While the government has been offering them assistance since most settle in border regions, President David Granger is looking to the international community to assist Guyana as it helps the refugees.
The departments have adopted international best practices to respond to the influx of migrants from Venezuela. Particularly, it is improving its management by strengthening its capacity to monitor and map these migrants. It is seeking international assistance in providing them with humanitarian assistance.
Mr. Granger said the Venezuelan migrant issue remains challenging, and the migrants are placing a strain on Guyana's social services, particularly the country's public health and public security systems. He noted that the Department of Citizenship has adopted international best practices to respond to the influx of Venezuelan migrants fleeing their homeland, and at the same time is seeking to international help to provide those migrants with humanitarian assistance. Under the Department of Citizenship, there is a special program that has been set up to overlook assistance to the migrants from Venezuela. Venezuelans have been fleeing their country to neighboring states for more than 2 years as the country continues to face economic and other problems. Colombia has seen more than 1.5 million Venezuelans seeking refuge in that country.
Still in Guyana, the country's Attorney General Basil Williams is warning that the projected phenomenal growth in Guyana could spur additional risks, as a growing economy is the breeding ground for criminals. We get more in this Newsroom Guyana report.
At the Marriott Hotel in Georgetown, a National Risk Assessment or NRA workshop on money laundering and terrorism financing. Here, the Attorney General, Basil Williams, pointed out that as the country faces unprecedented growth with the advent of the oil and gas sector, measures must be in place to guard against financial and other crimes.
This new sector will change our financial landscape, and in fact, the landscape has already been changed. For instance, there has been an increase in business and investment, and our economy is continually growing. While this development is a positive one for Guyana, we must remain vigilant as a growing economy brings with it additional risks, as it is a breeding ground for Guyana will experience great transformational benefits. Therefore, it behooves us, in keeping with our international obligations, to protect the country from exploitation by criminal elements, to set up exactly our risk in relation to the oil and gas industry.
Williams said that risk assessment is important as it allows the country to lay the foundation for implementing mitigating measures. This is another round of assessment taking place. The last one was done in 2017 and covered the years 2012 to 2016. The Attorney General pointed to what was found at that time.
The results of the first NRA show that Guyana had a lot of work to be done, especially having been referred to ICRG in 2011. The results of the first NRA summary show that 1, the overall money laundering risk for Guyana was rated as high. 2, regarding the terrorist financing risk, the threat level was rated as medium, as there is legislative framework in place to identify, report, and investigate terrorist financing. 3, the national vulnerability to money laundering was rated as medium high. 4, the assessment established that authorities of law, accountants, trust or company service providers, house/real estate agents, used car spare parts dealers, friendly societies and charities have a very high vulnerability rating. Notably, illicit drug trafficking, gold smuggling, corruption, and organized crime were rampant in Guyana.
Since the last assessment, Williams said the coalition government has taken a stand against corruption.
The success of our efforts was recently recognized when Transparency International in its 2019 report noted that Guyana has significantly improved in its corruption perception index, reaching its highest score in history, and as verified, traveling to 100 the score. This is a significant achievement as it demonstrates this government's commitment and its success in fighting corruption.
Those attending this national risk assessment on money laundering and terrorism financing were drawn from the regulatory agencies, law enforcement, and the financial sector.
In sports, we begin with athletics. Olympian and former 100-meter world record holder Asafa Powell has now been immortalized. A statue erected to honor the trailblazing sprinter was unveiled on Sunday. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
The statue to honor Olympian Asafa Powell for his prowess on the track was unveiled at the Statue Park in the National Stadium by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Sunday, February 9.
Today, on behalf of a grateful nation, I, Andrew Michael Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, consider it a singular honor to unveil for the nation's appreciation and acclamation a statue in honor of Asafa Powell, Olympian, for posterity and as a testament of the love of the Jamaican people. May all who pass by look up to the monument, be inspired by Asafa's achievement, and dare to perform as well, if not better.
The fourth fastest man in history over the 100 meters, Asafa Powell initially had dreams of becoming a mechanic. He changed the dream and the future of the 100 meter when he decided to pursue sports.
Many years ago, if you had told me that, I would be standing up here, looking so dapper, looking all cute with my wife checking me out, to celebrate the unveiling of my statue, I wouldn't believe, but, anything is possible. I'm like a country boy growing up in Yorton, all I knew back then was going to church, going to school, working on cars with my dad, going to church again, and sleep. But my brother, Donovan Powell, I always look up to him. He wasn't the only runner in the family, but he was the best runner in the family. You know, both my parents said they were runners, but I'm yet to see that. My father used to run left me still, you know, but my mom, I'm yet to see my mom run.
Asafa Powell has broken the 10-second barrier 97 times in competition. He held the 100-meter world record between June 2005 and May 2008, with times of 9.77 seconds and 9.74 seconds respectively. He still holds the world record for the 100-yard dash, with a time of 9.09 seconds, set on May 27, 2010 in Ostrava, Czech Republic. The statue of Asafa Powell, done by renowned Jamaican sculptor Basil Watson, is the final of 4 commissioned as part of the Jamaica 55 Legacy Program to celebrate the achievements of Jamaica's outstanding athletes.
This evening, I'm pleased to announce that the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport will be providing financial assistance for athletes preparing to compete in major games. This is a long-term effort by this administration to provide the necessary support systems to ensure that the well-being of our athletes is sustained. Beginning on March 1, and with the permission and support of the Prime Minister, beginning March 1 and continuing into mid-July of this year, athletes who have qualified or are on the brink of qualification for the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Tokyo will receive $20,000 per week towards their preparation, to be disbursed on a monthly basis.
There are many naysayers who question the spend on erecting statues in honor of our sporting heroes. Jamaica has become well known for its athletic prowess. And when you consider that a 30-second advert spot at the Super Bowl cost US $6 million, and then calculate the value of the exposure that Asafa and other athletes have given to Jamaica on the world stage, you will realize that the returns from our athletic spend is priceless.
Other statues which have already been erected at the statue park are of Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser Price, and Veronica Campbell-Brown. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
Tricia Robinson is now officially the president of Netball Jamaica after she was elevated to the office unopposed at Saturday's annual general meeting at the Jamaica Olympic Association headquarters. She takes over from Dr. Paula Daly Morris, who spent 4 years at the helm. The rest of the board is completed by Simone Forbes, Carleen Waugh, Jennifer Headlam, Kean Murdoch, Wayne Shaw, Leonie Finn, Denise Wisdom, and Janet Johnson Horton. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.